So my talk is coming to being partnerships and collaborations, and the themes of the talk are around creativity and the relationship of creativity to recovery in mental health situations. Second theme is quality of environment. And then thirdly, I want to talk briefly about collaborations and partnerships within this context. In 1978, Susan Sontag wrote in her essay, Illness as Metaphor, that, quote, everyone who is born holds dual citizenship in the kingdom of the well and in the kingdom of the sick. Although we all prefer to use only the good passport, sooner or later each of us is obliged, at least for a spell, to identify ourselves as citizens of that other place. Sontag's subject is the unreal and often punitive uses of illness as a metaphor in Western culture. Her point is that illness is not a metaphor, but a lived experience. And the most truthful way of regarding illness, she actually refers to it as the healthiest way of being ill, is to resist such metaphoric thinking. The other quotation I want to use to frame my presentation is from John Cage. And it's Cage's aphorism, I have nothing to say and I'm saying it. Cage's aphorism identifies how a frame of communication, be that frame a book, an art gallery, a research symposium, a mental health unit, conditions what can be said and how that will be communicated. It conditions behaviours. I'm using it to refer how the environment of a mental health unit elicits forms of response and forms of behaviour. Not only have we all been affected by mental illness in various degrees and in different ways, but we all attempt to make sense of our inner individual experience and our inner monologue, dialogue, multilogue, in terms of a reality that we are presented by our families and by the dominant realities of a society and its media. Attempting to make sense of the world, is clearly hardwired into as a human trait. And for me, it is a wellspring of all art and creative activity. Also, creating something, we are coming into being, to use a phrase borrowed from Kurt Vonnegut. For Vonnegut, creating something is its own reward, in that it is an experience of becoming. He says, practice any art, music, singing, dancing, acting, drawing, painting, sculpting, poetry, fiction, essays, reportage, no matter how well or badly. Sing in the shower, dance to the radio, tell stories, write a poem to a friend, even a lousy poem. Do it as well as you possibly can. You will get an enormous reward. You will have created something. The focus of the Northside House project and all the projects that hospital rooms have been involved in is to improve the quality of the environment of the mental health units that people work, live and are treated in through partnership, co-production and research. Quality of environment in this context doesn't only refer to the works the artists produce for the projects, although this is a very important aspect clearly. It is also about understanding the value of interaction through creative activity and endeavour in an environment that can support and encourage such interaction, an environment that can foster a sense of coming into being. I'm not a mental health professional. It's certainly not my area of expertise, but I speak from the experience of someone who spent his professional life working in and helping to create environments within art schools and art faculties that support creative activity and endeavour. Mental illness is mostly seen by or projected by society as an individual tragedy and maybe a family tragedy, which of course it is. But by implication, it's also projected as an individual failing, perhaps even a family failing, rather than a failing of the society, a failing of the duty of care which a society should have for its citizens, in the UK, for its subjects. A failing of the quality of the environment in the broadest sense, within which individuals can thrive, make mistakes, recover from illness or addiction, trauma and crises in their lives. It's been said before that although we have what is called a National Health Service in the UK, it is actually mostly a National Illness Service, and no less valuable for that, clearly. My point is that in facing the future of mental health and well-being, we should focus much more on becoming a National Health Service, so there will be less need for a National Illness Service. One of the ways we can do that is to target the mental health and well-being of children and young people, which I know is a focus of many support services in city and county councils and in the health service itself. In doing this, we might bring together mental health professionals, nurses, psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, with service users and managers of mental health services, and with artists, architects, set designers, musicians, writers, and craftspeople, so that we can learn from each other and explore how the quality of the environment and support can be improved. In our modest way, this is what our partnership at the Northside House projects are attempting to do. A past model for this is the Finsbury Health Centre, designed by the Tecton architectural practice, with Berthold Lubetkin being the main architect in a deprived area of London, Finsbury, in 1938. Finsbury Health Centre was part of a project to improve the conditions and well-being of the people living in the borough. It was also to include baths, libraries and nurseries, which didn't happen before the Second World War broke out. But the Finsbury Health Centre was built and finished and opened in 1938. It was a project led by Alderman Harold Riley, leader of the council, and Councillor Chuni Lal Kashol, a recent immigrant from the Punjab, from India, who was a GP practicing in Finsbury and at the time was chair of the Finsbury Public Health Committee from 1935 onwards. Kashul approached the modernist architectural firm of Tecton to design the Finsbury Health Centre. And in 1938, Kashul was elected the mayor of Finsbury, became the UK's first South Asian mayor. The centre was groundbreaking in both its services and the quality of its environment, including doctors' surgeries, antenatal and mother and baby units, TB clinic, a chiropody clinic, a dental surgery and a solarium, as well as a campaign of raising awareness about healthy living. These are the images of design thinking that Tecton used, of the relationship between, on the top left, the old doctor's surgery, dark, dirty, a prison atmosphere, lack of confidence in everything, and then the environment they wanted to create. The environment included an open and light-filled reception with ceilings painted sky blue with red painted columns. This is a later photograph, but with the same colour scheme, the original colour scheme, and with murals to promote the importance of light, fresh air and exercise to health. Remember, this is 1938. And on Gordon Cullen's mural there on the left, you can see it says chest diseases are preventable and curable, which may be relevant to what's happened to all of us in the last year. Also, the children's solarium included stools designed by the Finnish architect and designer Alvar Aalto. The architect Lubetkin said that he designed the shape of the centre not only to capture as much light as possible, but the curving facade and outstretched arms welcome people and were intended to introduce a smile into what is in fact a machine, to quote him. Maybe this combination of health professionals, counsellors, health managers, artists, architects, designers, service users working together to improve an environment could be a model for a way forward. In 1943, a year after the Beveridge report, the Finsbury Health Centre was used on a poster designed by Abram Games and issued by the Army Bureau of Current Affairs in its wartime home front campaign, What We Are Fighting For. Here, Your Britain, Fight for It Now. Here, the image of the Finsbury Health Centre is used by Games as a symbol of a better future, Actually, soon after it was released, the poster was withdrawn as being too radical, and apparently Churchill himself thought the image of the child with rickets in a slum setting was inappropriate. I think the broad message of Your Britain, Fight for It Now, and an image of a new kind of health service is appropriate as we emerge from a year of extraordinary stress and trauma and decide how we can build a better future to improve mental health and well-being. Thank you.